At one level, I see life as free flowing, easy. It has a mind of its own. Over a period of 4 or 5 years, when I started to write those small pieces, that confidence started to build that, oh, I think I can put pen to paper. And people who are reading it find some degree of value in it.
When you are about to write the book, how have you prepared yourself, and more than that, what kind of challenges have you faced?
How do you structure all the material that you want to speak in a book in a manner which is coherent to readers? All existing rules were being questioned. You started to wonder whether all the truths that you had, whether they are true anymore.
Now moving to another very interesting question, that the book has very interesting characters, especially for Keshav and Sumitra. How did you come about these two characters?
Keshav is a character yet again influenced largely from my growing up years. He has two very opposing polar characteristics. At one level, he is very competent, uncouth, lacks sophistication, but gets the job done. He's the voice of somebody who has grown from the ranks, somebody who has seen tough times, but he is no less in competence to anybody else. Somehow this kind of character resonates very well with me. Sumitra, on the other hand, is from rural Haryana, extremely feudal background. She has fought biases and stereotypes to reach where she has reached. She is an ex-wrestler, now in police. And there is a beautiful tension between these two, belonging to very diverse cultures, very competent people. They are all both battling demons in their heads while they are cracking the case. So I enjoyed thoroughly writing these two characters, and particularly liked writing the chemistry between these two, which is part attraction, part repulsion, and there is a case to be solved.
Okay, what is the canvas of the entire mystery, murder mystery? And without telling us the plot, tell us more about this, the book.
Yeah, I wouldn't have told you the plot in any case. That would prevent you from buying it. But I would say the canvas is 3 tracks. One is the track of the political context in which the murder has happened. There is this Indochina backdrop, there is a Goa mining scan backdrop, and the book analyzes, explores the canvas of these two conflicts, these two arcs, so to speak. The second track is the track of this very unique relationship between the person who is murdered and the person who murders. It's not a simple relationship based on hatred that has led to this heinous crime. There is more to it. I would go to the extent of saying that it is unique. You perhaps would not imagine it. You may have not ever heard of it. But this unique relationship between the guy who kills and the guy who is killed, even when you want to hate the killer, you will not be able to hate, is the intent of writing that track. And the third track is this quiet attraction between the two investigators. I just described to you, they are so different from each other. And yet they feel a unexpressed tension of attraction between these two. They can't express it because they are guarded by the professional setup that they are in, also by the fact that they have to investigate a murder. How does this tension play out? I wanted to explore that dimension of relationships when things are not expressed. What is the dynamics of such a relationship? That you have to guard the boundaries of the profession, and yet you are not able to help what you are feeling. You have to be true to what your heart is telling you, and yet you have to be mindful of the scenario in which you're working together. I think I like exploring that.
Yeah. So this book has a lot of depth in many parts, and it actually does not look like a murder mystery. And how have you built, the kind of depth, especially when you're writing this book?
I think in many ways I've written books to tell a story.
Yeah.
I've written books because something is troubling me. There is some thoughts, some unexplored areas of life that I do not have clear answers to. Mm-hmm. And all the three of my books will always be exploration of my challenges, my mind during the time when it was written. So you will find that common in all the three books, but it is most pronounced in The Tattoo Trail. And the reason why it is not just a murder mystery, I was very mindful that I will not write a pure play murder mystery whose purpose is to only entertain.
Yeah, it looked like more of the entertaining kind of book, where audience and the reader will go through a journey.
Exactly. And I did not want to write a pure entertainer. I wanted to write a book which explores fundamental aspects of life, human beings, that we usually don't talk about. I just described to you one tension between two professionals who feel attraction to each other, but they can't express. Then I have explored this concept of guilt. Then also explored whether there is anything fundamentally wrong in these gray emotions. So the depth of the book is coming not only from the drama of the murder mystery and the investigation being solved, but in exploration of many of these dimensions of human life that we normally don't deal with.
Yeah. So my next question is, being as an author, what is most easier, and two things here. One is easier and interesting, fiction or non-fiction?
I can't say for others. I can tell you that for me, fiction is harder. It is far away from my comfort zone. And here are my 2-3 reasons, Pankaj, why I believe writing fiction, at least to my mind, it's harder. One, you have to build characters. You have to build characters who are unique and yet readers will relate to.
Yeah.
If they relate to the characters too much, they see themselves completely, then there is no novelty. And if they do not relate to the characters at all, then they would not fall in love with the characters. So writing characters is difficult. Second, fiction must also deal with aspects of human life that readers will benefit from. Any fiction, to my mind, which is only for entertainment will not last. Look at timeless novels that have lasted in popularity for more than 100 years. They are rooted in a human condition, whether it is poverty, class, race, caste, politics. They are all rooted in a real life struggle, and hence they have lasted. So that's the second reason why writing fiction is harder. The third is you still have to create drama. You still have to create tensions between characters, tensions which readers cannot predict. If they can predict the tension between characters, they will not feel engaged and flip that page and want to keep flipping it till the end of the book. And finally, there must be surprises. Good fiction also must surprise the readers. Therefore, to my mind, it's harder to write fiction.
I remember my daughter and my son both are fond of books, and they read a lot of these fiction characters like Percy Jackson and these all characters. And what made them to finish the book are, I think, 400, 500, 600 pages of book they finished within 4-5 days. Now, very interesting question here, that the mindset of an author, right? What made you to write, and what is that overall visualization of the character, especially in the book? How do you do that?
Let me confess that the purpose of my not writing is never to bring about any large scale change. I write dominantly to clear my mind. There is always something that is stuck in my head that I want to clear. Hence, while great authors write to bring about social change, I still write as catharsis. I still write because it is therapeutic for me. It clears my mind of the many layers of an emotion. In many ways, if I don't write for, let's say, a duration of time, I believe, phat jaunga. I don't know how to say that in English, but phat jaunga. And therefore, each of my characters are characters who are going through similar, if not same, dilemmas that either I am going through or friends, colleagues, family around me is going through. As I meet people who are going through their own issues and they share it with me, I process it to the best of my ability, but then I realized it is Guru's way of looking at things. How would a character look at it? And the idea is not to be idealistic. The idea is not to say how things should be, but how things are. And how things are usually, Pankaj, is complex. Nobody is 100% clean. Nobody is 100% saint. All of us are beautiful concoction of saint and sinners. And that makes human beings complex. For me, the complexity is the beauty. I told you a while back that all the 5 characters of Echoes of Gasping Souls are broken characters. None of them are perfect. In fact, the book articulates their fears, their anxieties, their imperfections, their envy, their greed, and so on and so forth. And at the end, the idea is, can you overcome some of this and be largely good, because you can't be completely good, and celebrate it. I think we search for perfection in our relationships, as friends, as colleagues, as partners, as lovers and beloveds. And this is unfair because it's not possible. There's a place where I read, can we search good in the bad and bad in the good? In that sense, my characters are an exploration of this. If they are bad, I would explore their good. If they are good, I will explore their bad.
Superbly and very nicely explained. I remember here the book written by Chetan Bhagat, One Night Stand and other, on which a lot of movies, those characters were also showcased there. So these all 5 characters can be, a part of such kind of cinematic representation. Maybe, if any director or any people are going through this podcast, they must learn about this. And this is the story of each and every one. Now coming to my favorite question, you have a lot of clarity in the thought and whatever you do. How do you declutter yourself and how do you see the clarity into the thoughts? Is there any method, for the benefit of our audience?
That's a question that's filled with vanity, Pankaj. I personally don't think I am a very clear-headed guy. Thoughts, dilemmas, they are constantly churning in my mind. But I think some of the things that might help could be, one, lots of writing down, lots of revising. Never trust your first draft. Never trust your first thought. I think the first thoughts usually are product of lazy minds. So giving it the second and the third and the fourth shot adds a lot of clarity. Running it past people whom you trust, whose judgment you trust, taking an outside-in view is another way of dealing with potential biases and errors that might creep into your thinking. Lots and lots of reflection, honest reflection, Kabir type reflection. Maybe those would be some of my methods, but it's very hard. I must share that it's very hard.
You come from a very small place from Jharkhand. And even though, now you have served in the corporate world for many years, how has that impacted the way of you write and author, all these content, characters, and putting it on the bigger canvas in the format of book?
I think that's a fantastic question. I'm glad you asked that, because I believe that my formative years in a small place called Jingpani in the south of Jharkhand. And the kind of people I grew up with, the abject lack of basic facilities, the innocence of a small kasbah, all of that have had almost a finalizing impact on my mind. In many parts of my book I write, I am still dealing with the inescapable influences of small town that I grew up with. My characters pick up a lot from the kind of people I grew up with, either who were inspiration, who continue to be inspirations, or who were inspiration, but I today realize that they were gods with feet of clay. And that they disappointed me over a period of time, either because now I realize they were thinking wrongly, or I realize that they have refused to evolve. Either ways, I believe I am 100% a Jingpani boy, small town hamlet in Jharkhand, who is trying to make a place for himself in this crazy world.
Wonderful. Why someone should read your books, all those three authored, your own, mind penned down the thing?
This is the salesmanship part of this podcast. Kabir must be read with anybody who is in the corporate world and who does not have all the answers, irrespective of whether you are a new manager or a mid-manager or a senior leader. If there are questions in your mind that have still remained unanswered despite reading multiple sources of literature, try Kabir. You might just benefit from an alternative worldview. Echoes of Gasping Souls must be read by those who are questioning fundamental meaning of life, purpose of life, who are battling with this question, ये गाड़ी कहाँ से आ रही है, ये गाड़ी कहाँ जा रही है, और इन सब का मतलब क्या है? If you're still battling with those questions, maybe Echoes of Gasping Souls will give you some way out. The Tattoo Trail must be read by two kinds of people. One who like to be entertained, and yet people who are dealing with emotions in the gray zone. People who are dealing with subjects like guilt, love, attraction, and how do two human beings relate to each other. Ultimately, that's what matters. We will all one day wither away, but while we are alive, how do we relate to each other? So those will be my sales pitches for the three books.
My last question has two questions in it. One is, what next? Second one is the final message for all the viewers.
What next? There are two book ideas right now. Some bit of punching has already happened. One is a book which is based on my experience of long distance running, and the other is a book of short stories. Both are partially done, but I think there is a little bit of tempo that has to be built so that it gets completed. My final message would be as follows. One, everybody who is on earth is either a writer or a reader. Ideally both, but at least one. So do read whatever you can lay your hands on. Number two, I'm a firm believer of the infinite potential human beings have. I never thought I would write. I never thought what I would write would become books. And I never thought that one day somebody like Pankaj is going to have a chat on my books. I feel very blessed. And not only do I feel very blessed, it reinforces further my faith that anything is possible. Human potential is infinite. Human destiny is infinite. So keep at it, whatever you at.
Wonderful. So guys, thank you so much for watching this wonderful show, Let's Talk Show. Life is all about finding the answers for our own questions. And I believe that this kind of people and the podcast will bring the real meaning for the life, what we all are looking for. Thank you so much. Do subscribe to the Let's Talk Show, to our channel, and share these videos with all your loved ones, friends, and the colleagues. Thank you so much.